Yo, what's up? How did sports fan? This is Paul along with Austin. Welcome to another episode of our show. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, we're doing all right. How are you doing, Paul?
Good. Just in case everyone's noticing, Austin is sporting a brand new look.
Yeah, it was about time I got a haircut. It was, I actually feel more comfortable not wearing a hat now.
Yeah, yeah. Looks good. Looks good.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Good Mother's Day.
Oh yeah, it was a great Mother's Day. Made breakfast. Just want to give a quick shout out to Blackstone. Make a hell of a breakfast. Uh, did eggs, bacon, sausage. I cooked the sausage for biscuits and gravy out on the Blackstone. Turned out amazing.
What was I know this is not necessarily the show for it, but wasn't Phineas and Festus didn't their theme song say something about biscuits and gravy made me a man? Something like
Yeah,
that?
yes, it did.
Okay. All right.
Yes, it did.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. Yeah, Blackstones are the shit. Use my smaller one. I have a little portable one that I take with me. And my niece graduated from college. Shout out to my niece, uh, Jalen Kimbrough for graduating from college. Um, Made some chicken fried rice, and I did some Italian sausages on it with some peppers and onions. And I don't know if you ever had a Mississippi sausage.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a red sausage, like it's spicy.
Ooh,
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures of it after the show.
that sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, so it was really good. It was really good. Probably some of the best shit I've ever made. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. Quick shout out from me. Happy belated Mother's Day to all the moms. Um, fu I don't, is it a funny story or ironic? So, um, had a drink yesterday, and then you know, all of a sudden, by it being Mother's Day, I look at the back of the bottle, and I see a expiration date of 9/21 then 26. The 9/21 is significant for me because that's also my mom's birthday. So I was like, oh, so it touched me in the feeling box.
There you go.
So I was like, oh yeah, my mom was with me while I was drinking a beer. So so shout out, mom. Love you and miss you every day. So um where should we start, man? Because there's been a lot. There's been a lot of good stuff. The the Chicago Bulls hired a new executive vice president of basketball operations by the name of Bryson Graham. You probably heard of this, since we're unfortunately a week late, but that's okay. Um, my initial thoughts of this was shocking because I actually thought that they were going to go with Matt Lloyd, and just because of everything that we were reading about his connection to the organization, him, having all these connections around the league, him being able to draft well, being part of the organization in terms of the Timberwolves, and him being able to, or at least being part of that staff that Anthony Edwards and being part of the group that brought in Iota Sumo, all those players, and the reason why they're in the Western Conference, semifinals. But when they hired Bryson Graham, it caught me by surprise. What about you?
I mean, I think it caught everybody a little bit by surprise because I think we were talking last time. I think we both agreed that it was most likely going to be Matt Lloyd, and then we'll end up going from there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, it was an interesting move. I think it was sort of an out of the box pick. You know, try to get something completely different in a way.
and I think for me, and I think why it stuck out is because, and you mentioned it was against conventional Bulls wisdom. And 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 honestly, it's one of those where you're sitting up here like, okay, you hired a young dude that's, yeah, I think one of the knocks on him was the fact that he came from two organizations that didn't win championships, but he was part of that staff that helped bring in some key young talent. You know, he didn't have anything to do with, hiring the coaches or anything like that, but he was part of the draft process. And part of what this Bulls team needs is a person to be able to draft. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I thought, with this hire, once again, outside the box, the more I sat down and I thought about it, I was like, yeah, this can work. And I think for me, especially when, they were at the introductory press conference, what got me was the fact that you had Michael Reinsdorf sitting up here apologizing to Bulls fans. That for me was kind of like, that's different. Taking accountability over the fact that over the past, let's say, mm, mm, since the Derrick Rose era, the Bulls have been irrelevant. We'll just put it that way, right?
For the most part. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I was just doing a little bit of reading before getting on. Um, the Bulls have landed themselves in the lottery for the past 4 seasons and 5 times since 2020 in the AK era. So, obviously something wasn't going correct there. They couldn't find a fitting as a team. They weren't able to win. So, again, just having it go unconventionally could probably end up, changing it. How often do you get terrible sports teams? And terrible is probably not the correct word. You know, the Bulls aren't good, but I wouldn't say they're terrible. Um, but how often do you get an owner coming out and apologizing? You don't
Well,
see stuff like that happen.
at least one within this town, considering the fact that his father doesn't really come out and do that.
Yeah,
But considering the fact that he did it, and just listening to podcasts and talking to other Bulls fans and friends that I have, they like it set a good tone with them, knowing that and it wasn't fake, it was genuine. Like, we hear you. Like, I fucked up, you know. And he's loyal to a fault. Actually, all both Ryan Swerves are loyal to a fault. But I think the thing that really got me was just his ownership of everything. Just say, hey, the buck stops with me. Um, but it was just refreshing to hear that, an owner within I heard the comparison of a few years ago when George McCaskey was talking about how his mom was pissed off about all the losing, how Virginia was pissed off about all the losing the Bears were doing. It kind of got that sentiment. So hopefully, um, you know, the the Bulls could take the same step as the Bears. But, as far as Bryson Graham is concerned, what he had to say, I absolutely um enjoyed what he was talking about. I think it was one of the best press conferences I've ever heard. Um, there he was controlled. He was well thought out. Um, I mean, there was a few things I wish that the media would have asked. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we were kind of going through the list of questions I wanted to hear. Talking about the roster and talk about. I wanted to hear a little bit more about what he thinks about the medical staff. Um, the one question I wish the media would have asked him, um, it what actually was about the medical staff. But the one thing that, and this is more of a nitpick, was when they asked him about does he have any coaches in mind. He said, "Yeah, well, no, I haven't put a list together." I'm gonna call bullshit on that because when you go into any interview, especially for something like this, you're gonna have a list together of possible coaches that you want to interview and stuff like that.
I think with the coaches thing, at least, he was more so saying, no, I don't have like a concrete list. He probably has a list of probably 10 to 15 names. He probably wants to be able to condense that.
Yeah,
And
if that's the case, I kind of wish he would have just, worded a little bit differently.
yeah,
Another thing I loved about the press conferences is the fact that when they were talking about hiring the coach, and Bryson was kind of like, "Yeah, we're going to do this collaboratively." And Michael was like, "Nah, dude, this is on you. I hired you to make this decision, so this is on you." So for me, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. But we'll see where it goes from there.
it's in a little bit of a different, vein, but it kind of gave you the same feeling of when Ben Johnson got hired by the Bears.
Yeah, that's the comparison. Yeah.
Just the fact that he was able to sit up there with the amount of poise and confidence that he did, and outside of the head coaching question, didn't really deflect, didn't really uh hold back. He was just all he was all for it and was confident in everything that he was saying. It it really makes you feel like it's going to lead to good things.
Yeah. Yeah. And he talked about how this is going to be a slow process. I tend to think that, you know, it could be done rather quickly in terms of being able to compete. And
With the
we'll get into that in a little bit. But I think fans have to understand that, um, you know, with the guy's draft record, yes, he hasn't drafted a star, but he's drafted um, really good basketball players, really good basketball players. Dyson Daniels, Nikhil Alexander Walker, uh, Herb Jones, to name a few. Um, so looking forward to it. With that being said, the Chicago Bulls did get some great news yesterday. And let me say this. I am one that usually don't toot his own horn or say, "Hey, I told you so," or "I tell people so," because I'm not that guy. I'm really not. Okay, maybe once in a while. And this is once in a while. I think you and I did a show, and I said that since the Bulls fired AK, that there were a possibility of getting the number one overall pick or at least getting in the top four.
you were yeah, you did.
So therefore, I will do the Barry Horowitz and pat myself on the back.
I mean, first off, what a pull. I mean, again, with the ninth best odds to jump up to fourth, was not expecting it. You couldn't even, I wouldn't have even bet on it. I know you can, but I wouldn't have touched that bet. But it's just the fact that it actually did happen. We've seen so many drafts, so many lotteries over the last couple of years that have just not worked in our favor. So it was a nice turn of the table
Hmm.
to finally have something go our way. And I mean, like you were saying a little bit ago, there's a chance to really revamp this team relatively quickly. And the number one way to revamp a team is through the draft. And the Bulls have 5 picks in the upcoming draft. Remind you that the NBA draft is 2 rounds, and the Bulls have 5 picks.
Four. two
I
first,
thought
2 second.
I thought they had 3 seconds because they had back-to-back seconds.
Mm-mm. It picked 38 and I think 56.
I thought they had 37, 38, and 56.
It would be nice if it had 37, 38, and 56, but they got 38 and 56.
And I guess I read that wrong.
Yeah, it's okay. I've had some theories and going through my head today about how the Bulls can improve. So my theory behind this is that um, uh, number one, it is a lottery. It takes some luck, and it's about damn time the Bulls got some luck, and especially we as Bulls fans. And it's funny. I was sitting there, sitting there at brunch, and then all of a sudden, I just look at my phone, and I'm like, Bulls going to top four. I was like, okay. So and then being the normal fan, this is one of the few times where I actually allow myself to be a fan. And I'm like, I want the number one pick. I got greedy. Got greedy. And then next thing you know, we'll stay at four. I was like, you know what? I'm okay. And we've talked about this even in previous shows that I felt like with how the draft was being touted, that you could have got a really good player at nine. But the top four, that's
You're looking at a stud.
yes, yes. And 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 honestly, now it just depends on how it falls because now for me it's between Cameron Boozer and Caleb uh Wilson. And I guarantee you between now and the time um th- what football and basketball season starts, people are going to get the two Calebs mixed up because I almost said Caleb Williams.
Naturally.
Yeah. Now, funny story, I did hear Joe Colley today on 670 The Score said if the Bulls do draft Caleb Wilson, he'll be the best Caleb in the city. I I I
That
chuckled
is
at that.
that is quite the statement there,
I chuckled.
especially after hearing Caleb's press conference the other day.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're still looking again. That's a top four pick. It's very easy to mess it up, but it's also very easy to get it right.
I don't think I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think this is hard to mess up because, you know, I think the first two picks are easy. And then whoever the Grizzlies don't pick, or whoever the Grizzlies don't pick, that's who the Bulls are going to pick. So if they pick Boozer, Wilson's there. If they pick Wilson, you're going to pick Boozer. Now, I've actually talked myself into Cameron Boozer. I mean, I don't hate the pick if they decide to go that route. I just have my preferences, and my preferences is Caleb Wilson or AJ DeBonsa. They're not getting AJ DeBonsa. He's going number one. But I do think you'll get a stud. Um, I did talk to a buddy of mine today, and I brought up a scenario that the draft could get interesting at three, and he was like, "How?" I was like, "Well, Memphis is at number three, and they could be looking to trade Ja Morant before the draft starts. And if they do that, they're going to need a point guard. So there's a
And that's true.
possibility, and there's a possibility that that 3 point guards, uh, especially the ones that were going to be going in that 5 to 7 range, could move up to number three. If that's the case, then the Bulls have your pick at either Boozer or 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 Wilson.
I almost said Williams too.
Yeah. So
Um, uh, no, and again, you get something like that, you start to get excited. Um, that was kind of the big thing is just that uh there is now looking like there's a potential chance to actually make a full basketball team, something that the Bulls have not had in months. So we're gonna see how everything falls, and Yeah, Caleb Wilson would be really nice to have. But if they end up going Cam, if they end up going in Cam, it would be really nice to hop aboard the booze cruise again.
Yeah, the more I check out his game, he's bigger than his father. He has a um him and his father are similar in a way that they both have really good skill around the basket. He's not the shooter yet that his father was. His father had a really good mid-range game. Cameron, I don't think is there yet. Um, he's a lot more physical than his dad was, especially towards later in his dad's career. Um, but I do think that Cameron Boozer will be an excellent pro. It's just a matter of, do you see him as being the best player on a championship team? Like I can see AJ DeBonsa being that dude, but or even Darren Peterson or even Caleb Wilson, it's just, can I see Cameron Boozer being, you know, a a 1A as opposed to a number two?
It- that would be the question. Um, and unfortunately, when it comes to something like this, it's the waiting game.
Yeah, yeah,
You'll have to
absolutely.
you'll have to see how he ends up developing if that's the pick that we end up making. Um, but I mean, hey, again, either way, I think you're going to get a hell of a basketball player. Um, it's going to progress the team into, you know, it could be young and up and coming team instead of just a young team. And we'll be able to see, you know, we've been able to collect some pieces here and there. We'll be able to see kind of maybe a mold of something get put together and actually, a full squad.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned the mold, and Bryson Graham, and during his press conference, did talk about the type of player that he likes. He talks about the acronym SLAP, in which I told a buddy that I'm actually kind of pissed off as a basketball coach that I didn't come up with that acronym. Yeah, I'm the same dude that talks about the EATS principle, and notice not it's not the same as Matt Eberflus's HITS principle. That dude. But I had the EATS principle of effort, attitude, and toughness, right? So, his SLAP principle was size, length, athleticism, being an athlete, and toughness. So, I'm sorry, size, length, athletic, physicality. That's what it is. Sorry, slap. Someone should
Eh,
slap me right now.
well, yeah, I mean, it could be a slat of wood.
Yeah,
That could have
could
worked.
be. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but but hell, either way, I'm a little biased. I don't trust it because it's an acronym. And again, we watched Matt Eberflus's hits, and obviously that didn't hit. So
But to be fair, he is an executive as opposed to a head coach.
makes it
A-
a little better.
Yeah,
It
acronyms are
does make it a
better.
little better.
Acronyms are better coming from a executive as opposed to a head coach.
So, hopefully that all works out. But again, if we just get somebody, I just want it to be somebody physical, tough, um, a big that can actually finish around the basket really well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's shaping up to look really, really nice.
Yeah, and I think what Bulls fans and have to understand is the fact that this is what we wanted. We wanted to be in the top four. I don't think you're going to go wrong. I've heard many people say you don't overthink this, and you shouldn't. Whoever is left from the top three, that's who you take.
Yes, absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
I, I I'm not entertaining the fact of moving up. I'm not entertaining the fact of moving down. My if my scouts are telling me that the top four are franchise changing or franchise altering um players, then that's what we're gonna go with. And he talked about this is, Bryson Graham talked about how this is the first layer of the foundation of this new thing for the Chicago Bulls, and you have to be able to hit on these first two picks. The fourth one is the fourth pick that's your franchise changing talent. You can kind of um you can kind of go and look at number 15 and kind of take some chances on some people. But I think overall you're looking at least, two starters, coming from this. And it's
two
not
two starters potentially, or at the very least a bench piece that is very integral to the rotation.
number 15. Number 15. That
Yeah,
Yeah. Four should be your superstar.
four should absolutely be that superstar starter, every game, all the time. But like you said, 15, if he turned out to be like the starting caliber on this squad, perfect. That would be awesome. Or even again, like a six-man type deal that gets very important minutes and is able to go in at crucial times of the game whenever he's needed. That would also be not the worst thing. Just somebody that's impactful in the minutes given.
Right. Right. No, I do think that the Bulls are in a right spot. They hired the right guy. They got some luck, and that's honestly that's all you need. I mean, the Bulls got lucky in drafting Jordan, right?
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Absolutely. I mean, you
I
got
mean, look at
teams
the
that,
look at the Oklahoma City Thunder.
yeah, I mean they lucked out with some trades that are still coming to fruition. The team the team is going to probably win another championship and get two draft picks within the top 20.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
It-
But like I said, I do think the Bulls are in a good spot to where they could um, do this rather quickly. And my argument has always been is the fact that the league wants you to be in the middle. They're going to reward you for being in the middle, and especially with these new lottery odds that are coming for next year. Um, you want to be in that 5 to 8 to 10 range because you do have better odds than if you tanked, if you were a bottom third team or bottom three team in the league. So
yeah,
you want to be, you know, 5 to 8 or 5 to 10.
competitive.
Yes.
You at least want to be competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, not only would it be better for the brand, not only would it be better for basketball, it's just a better it's just better to watch when you're competitive.
Well, I think too, it's one thing to be competitive, but it's also when you have when you're competitive, but also you have young pieces that you can root for. I often hear people say it's fun to it it's fun to watch your team, especially when they're getting good, right?
Yeah,
When they're trying to figure stuff out. So and that's kind of what we hope that we're getting for next season, right? You have your two first round picks. Hopefully, Modest and Giddy will still be around. That those maybe four pieces right there. Got free agency. Um, what's going to be going on with that. I'm actually curious to see how, especially with the new tanking rules, if teams are going to be willing to attach draft picks to bad contracts in order to offload them.
depending on what the team is looking at for the future, there's probably a good chance of that. But
Well,
then but then if you attach a draft pick, you would assume that you would be getting a lot with it.
Yeah, so I mean, if you know, if a team wants to, like the Bulls want to facilitate a trade to help a team to get, I'm going to use a play. I'm going to use Zach LaVine, for example, and the Kings want to offload one of their first round picks, and I'm going to ask for a first round pick for this year if I'm taking on $48 million of his salary into my 50 something million dollar, available space. Maybe they don't want to do that because of what's going to be going on with the new rules unless it's heavily protected.
And I think that also like I feel like that'll change how if trades are made for picks,
Yeah,
it'll change how the protected uh moniker I would say goes.
yeah. That
Like
that's that's how I feel about it. That's why I'm curious. I don't I mean it is an avenue that I know Bryson Graham talked about, help facilitating trades for extra assets, but I just don't know how active teams will be knowing the actual structure of especially when there's a little bit of gray area with the lottery stuff for next year.
and it also depends on the player itself.
Yeah, yeah,
Um because different news from today, uh Milwaukee said they're open to trade talks and, you know, um maybe attempting to get a trade done for Giannis finally. Maybe, allegedly. We've heard this before.
right.
But that was kind of that I heard that news today, saying that they're open to talks and, offering to listen to see what teams are going to offer.
Yeah, I think Giannis is gone. Um, I mean, if I had to, I mean, Golden State, Miami. I think depending on what happens with the Spurs, I think the Spurs could be up there in
If
terms
he
of,
goes to the Spurs, that's just not fair.
and that's the thing. The Spurs get assets, and 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 that's the thing that when I'm watching these playoffs right now. First of all, these playoffs outside of the the dismal performance by the 76ers, it's been a really good playoffs, and I've enjoyed it. But seeing the Spurs and how athletic they are, even like last night's game, like they should have won that. It's just that the best player on the court was Anthony Edwards. And yeah, but they got dudes, the Spurs do. They are just quick, athletic, young, and I'm gonna use this term and I mean it in terms of as the nicest way possible. Young and dumb.
And they don't know what they don't know.
They don't know what they don't know.
It's honestly, you're right. It's been incredible. It's been some of the most entertaining like first and second rounds of the basketball playoffs that you've seen in a while.
Yeah, and I know that there's always that talk to how people don't like the NBA, especially it's a long regular season. I'm here to tell you that I don't think the league is going to change their structures in terms of they should go 74 games instead of 82. The league's not going to want to get rid of the revenue, and the players are not going to want to give in money. So
All that
no,
has to do with money. That's
no,
never going to happen.
they're
The
not
only
going to
thing
do
that
that.
the only thing that will happen in terms of that is if they decide to go like 85 games instead of 82.
Well, you better expand the rosters.
That's that would be what it would have to be, but it's never going to go down. It's only
Yeah,
going to go up. You see
yeah,
that in the NFL. And as soon as they moved to 17, there were already talks of moving to 18 games in the season.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
only going to go up.
absolutely.
Um, but what was I going to say? Uh, Talking about the Spurs in particular, that Spurs Timberwolves series. Again, he is 4-time defensive player of the year, but Rudy Gobert has been having to work his ass off for the first two series.
No, he did a hell of a job guarding Joker.
And then
Hell
he
of a
has to
job.
go and then he has to go against the alien, Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah,
Like the dude, again, he is a 4-time defensive player of the year, but the dude has had to work his ass off the entire playoffs. It's been incredible to watch. Because I mean,
yeah,
even against Wemby, he's still holding his own. Wemby's still going to be able to get his because he's younger, quicker, and longer. Pause. But he, but he's been able to keep up a lot.
right.
It's been I I'm a defense guy and basically whatever sport I love to watch. So seeing somebody like that giving the effort that he has to be able to stay in these games and even win them, it's been incredible.
Yeah, and if you go through all the other playoff series, um, Cavs and Pistons are tied up. Um, the Cavs playing better at home didn't necessarily shock me. The Lakers about to get swept. We're probably going to be seeing the last of LeBron James in a LA Laker uniform tonight. Um, we'll talk about it later at a later show regarding his legacy and things like that. But OKC, like I said, is probably going to win it all again. Um, I was talking with my own son, and he asked me who I thought was going to win, and I said, whoever, if it's the Spurs and the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals, that's your NBA championship right there.
That's what it is because the East is just that good being it with San Antonio and the Thunder. But I tell you what, the Knicks would make it a fun 6 games.
Yeah, and you know what the funny thing about the Knicks is? They, their their roster is trades, and their best player is a former second round pick, which is always goes to show you, and I've been preaching this forever, that there are different ways to build a roster.
Absolutely. I mean, again, they're not in the playoffs anymore because their team fell apart. But another one like the Nuggets, Joker, former second round pick. No one expected him to be what he is today. And he turned out to be one of the greatest offensive basketball players of all time.
Well, Giannis was 15th.
And then you also have players like um like Anthony Edwards, who was
He was number one.
he was number one.
That was the COVID draft. That was the Pat Williams draft.
The last time the Bulls had four.
Yeah,
No,
we're not going to
sorry
talk
to bring
about
that
that.
up.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, it was
That's
rough.
that that was mm,
So, anyways,
Tyrese Halliburton was right there,
but
right there.
uh I
Obi
mean
Toppin was right there.
you're
Denny
seeing.
Denny Avia was right there, but he had to take Patrick fucking Williams,
Oh
who by
yes,
the who by the way wasn't even starting on his team.
yeah, he was a 6 man in college.
Yes,
Ridiculous.
yes, and
Everyone
then
knew that was a bad pick as soon as it happened.
and then you compound it by giving that man $90 million, not just $90 million, but a player option on that fifth year. Uh, that right there is why AK got fired.
They say there's no such thing as an untradeable contract. That is an untradeable contract.
And if the Bulls even think about, if I'm Patrick Williams coming to me and say I want a buyout, I'm gonna say fuck you. I am not giving up money,
I'll take my money. Thank you very much.
especially with my player option. I am not giving up money. And then number two, even if you cut me, guess what? I still get paid.
Yeah. And then it hurts the Bulls even more because it goes against the dead cap a lot more.
Yeah, I don't know I know if they if they cut them and they spread out the money, it definitely is more of a hit. But yeah, it fuck you, AK.
As soon as it gets into contract talks with like cutting and all that, it gets way too complicated for me.
Well, you know who what sport is like that at its heart? Football. And
Yeah,
NFL contracts are horrible with that.
yeah, but
With
in also in the NFL, I believe there's no such thing as a salary cap.
well, it's everything's fluid. It already and we talked about this in one of the other shows about how everything was um if you have enough liquid, you can do some things.
Yeah, and again, an owner willing to pay. And speaking of that with the Bulls, if they don't uh, attempt to re-sign or go through the tender with any of their upcoming free agents, they'll have the most cap space in the NBA.
Yeah, and they have options with that. They can sign a free agent, a unrestricted free agent. They can make it really hard for a team to re-sign a restricted free agent if they want to make a kind of a poison pill out of a tent out of an offer sheet. Or as we talked about before, they can help facilitate some trades by taking on some bad contracts with some added, draft capital. But as you and I talked, a little bit ago, I don't know how feasible that's going to be unless you have a team that really don't care about draft picks, especially if they're competing for championships and they're constantly going to be drafting in, you know, the late 20s.
Well, there's only one team I think that would be doing that, but they somehow got the 12th pick. So I don't know.
Well, and it's funny that you bring that up is because I actually talked with, I'm saying buddy, shout out Will Higgins. Try to get him to come on the show, but I'm still working on that. Um, the if OKC wants to part ways with Isaiah Hartenstein because of his player option, because they got their own issues to try to deal with, especially with the first and second apron, and they still got to pay guys too. If the Bulls want to take on Hartenstein's contract and they want to give us number 18 this year, and we'll give them Patrick Williams and maybe a couple of second round picks. Okay, I'll do that.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
In a heartbeat.
Bye,
But
Patrick
that
Williams.
it's been real, it's been fun, but it ain't been real fun.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, it hasn't been real fun. It's been bad.
I was trying to be a little nice.
Is Patrick Williams the worst player in Bulls history?
Is the worst player in Bulls history?
Hmm.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay, from where he was drafted.
Probably.
Okay.
Just because he was number 4. Because I'm sorry, when you say worse in Bulls history, I know there's probably worse if you go back to like 70s, 80s era,
I, you
especially
know,
before
I,
Jordan.
I know that, but this is
But
one of those times where I am allowing myself to be a fan and be a little bit, hyperbolic.
outside of Patrick Williams, the only other name that comes to mind is Denzel Valentine.
Mm. See, now you're gonna test my Bulls knowledge. Khalil Alameen was pretty bad. Cornell David was pretty bad. Michael Ruffin was bad. Actually, that whole 98, 99 Bulls team was pretty bad.
And the only reason I'm saying Denzel Valentine is
Corey Benjamin.
because that summer after he was drafted, he went out and won what was it, the summer league MVP. So he had all this massive hype around him to do absolutely nothing in his entire career.
Yeah, Not wrong.
I mean,
Not.
he went from starting at the very beginning of that season to at the end was like the eighth man off the bench. It was gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there are great things looking up for the Bulls.
Yeah.
And holy shit, you get rid of something that was not working and you give something brand new a chance. Good things
And
are seem to be coming.
and you know what the great thing is that you know Bulls fans are happy or or cautiously optimistic about things, and that for me is a beautiful thing, to have that.
I mean, you probably haven't had that feeling in 15 years.
Well, I mean, since the I I don't think I think the last time I felt this way about the Bulls, where I was like really happy, was probably 2008 when they got the first pick in the draft, and I said the Bulls are taking Derrick Rose.
It was set up
Yeah,
to be, yeah,
I said Bulls are taking Derrick Rose, and that was the last time I can honestly say like I was excited about a draft.
yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, being excited about a draft, probably '08. Uh, again, was cautiously optimistic a few years ago when they took the bad man. But now we can be, there's, there seems to be a clear picture starting to form
yeah.
where, 2 months ago, you were questioning everything.
Well, fans just wanted a person who can articulate a plan, a decent plan, and that's what's going on.
I mean, shit, you were right in the first place. Articulate a plan. AK never had a plan. He was just doing stuff.
Well, I think I was one of the very few people that could speak AK. I understood what he was trying to do. He just couldn't execute it well.
No, he was just very bad at his job.
Yeah. Like I understood what I understood what he was trying to do. He saw the patient, said, I want that. And I was like, makes sense. That's cool. And then it was just bad.
Loss after loss after loss.
Bad draft pick after bad draft pick after bad draft pick. That doesn't help. That doesn't help.
No, no, that always kills any type of momentum that you think you would have.
Yeah. Speaking of killing momentum, I am very concerned that a certain football team that plays on the lake is hinging their fortunes on the fact that I think that they're gonna try and win games 52-48.
We had this conversation before, yeah.
And and what makes me think this way too is the fact that when you and I talked the last time about the Bears defense or lack thereof, or the pass rush or lack thereof, that I don't like what I'm hearing right now from whether it's Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, or even when Dennis Allen spoke over the weekend during rookie minicamp, where he basically talked about how, Ben Johnson, we're going to coach him better. Okay, you're going to coach Montez Sweat better?
See, he is like the only exception to that pass rush because the sack numbers aren't there. You know, what did he get last year? 10 and a half.
Yeah. So you're going to coach
Um,
him better so he can get 11? Are,
but
are you going to coach Javon Dexter not to be a turtle when it comes to his get off?
no, But
He's
the
been,
thing about like Javon Dexter is that he's got somebody nipping at his heels already. I think he may lose that starting spot.
yeah, it's possible. Man, it's been 4 years, and the dude, yes, he's had 6 sacks. That's all fine and great, but that dude, his get off is very slow, and that's 4 years in the making.
You
Four
know whose
years in
get
the
off is not?
Who's that?
Jordan Vandenberg.
I like him. We talked about that. I like
I
him.
mean, the more and more I'm looking at these draft picks, the more excited I'm getting. Truthfully, the more excited I'm getting.
Yeah, I'm still in the camp of I'm the wait and see on the wide receiver, but you can talk me into all of them except for that one.
Him is again it what sucks about uh Xavier Thomas is position of where he was drafted. That is the biggest question. But what he could bring to the offense and probably at least in his first year, at the very least, the special teams could be game changing.
Yeah,
We'll know, I think we'll know more once we see the pads on because game changing speed doesn't necessarily translate, you know, on and off pads. But if it can, I mean, you could be looking at somebody that could have the electricity of a certain number 23.
yeah, but
And we'll just have to wait and see about that. But as a whole, I'm so excited about this upcoming team. Um,
I'm look, I I'm excited about the team. I want to see. Well, let me rephrase that because I keep hearing that that the Bears, or at least Ben Johnson, has all this equity. Yeah, Ben Johnson and the offense has equity. This defense has no equity. If you're telling me that you're going to try to recreate the fact that you led the league in turnovers or takeaways, okay, that's fine. But you're relying on a very young secondary and another guy who hasn't stayed healthy to you know for the most part within in his career, and then a pass rush that was non-existent, and you saying that you need to coach them up better. Okay, how?
See, I think the whole part about stuff like that is it changes because the players that we have gotten over free agency and then through the draft for the defensive side in particular, you're looking at that at players that are fitting more of Dennis Allen's scheme. You got younger and you got faster. That's what we were missing. I think the fastness or the speed around particularly the secondary and the linebackers has been upgraded so much that you're able to drop back into these certain coverages and actually have, say, half a second to a second longer. And I would say, how many times did you see the pass rush almost get there
Yeah, but
and then
that's
the
not
ball get
coaching
out?
though. That's not coaching.
No, it's not. It's not coaching, and I think the we need to coach them better is basically Dennis Allen saying, "Look, what I was trying to do last year didn't work. I need to be better." I think that's all that truly is just him admitting that he needs to be better.
Your talent is pretty much the same on the defensive line minus some reserves and one draft pick, or a plus or some reserves and one draft pick.
And you're just getting healthier,
Are
you
we
know.
sure about that?
In a way, I mean, we'll have on the pass rush, you're getting Dio back.
Off of an ACL, which is this is second one. Okay.
Um, you're giving Austin Booker time to finally get fully healthy. I don't think he was ever fully healthy at any point last season.
Okay. I've always liked Austin Booker, but okay.
He He's just streaky. Is his problem? We talked about it last time. He's just streaky. I'd love to be able to see him become more of a consistent uh every down guy.
I would love to be wrong, but I don't think this is one I'm going to be wrong about. I think this is one where, and don't be surprised if there's some changes within the Bears defensive coaching staff within weeks 4 and 8. Because if you're telling me that you're going to coach these people better, then who's your D line coach? And what has that D line coach been teaching the these players over the past year that couldn't have been taught during film study? Oh, over an 18 game season, 17 game season,
It's a
18 game season,
fantastic
excuse me.
that's a fantastic question.
You're in film study every day. Not you, but
Sorry, coach.
yeah, you don't you you're not setting the edge properly. Where's your hand placement? You don't you too busy doing other things. You're not doing this other stuff. Not working on the fundamentals.
It, I got nothing to say on that, but
I
I mean
I
you could be 100% correct.
I will stand by my prediction that if the Bears are winning games 52-48 within the first 8 weeks of the season, Dennis Allen and or whoever the defensive line coach will be fired.
Well, okay, so I'm in the camp that you'll never know what it's going to look like on or after week 1, but
Oh, that's why. Oh, that's why I said weeks between 4 and 8.
we'll get a hell of a test early if what the predictions are saying, because it's looking like week 1 is going to be the Chicago Bears versus the Seattle Seahawks on Wednesday Night Football. That sounds awful, but the season is going to start on a Wednesday this year.
Yeah, you saw my head, right?
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
that's I'm like,
The season is going to start on a Wednesday night. It sounds very weird. I don't like it, but the early reports are looking like it's going to be the Chicago Bears versus the Seattle Seahawks to start week 1.
whatever.
It,
Weeks 4 and 8. That's weeks 4 through 8. That's what I'm looking at in terms of this defense. If they're winning games because their offense is outscoring folks, and um instead of getting some timely takeaways and some timely sacks. I'm not talking about coverage sacks. I'm talking about when the ball is hiked, they're getting a quarterback in under 4 seconds.
which should not be a lot to ask,
No,
but it is. If you were going to say under 3, then it would be a conversation. But under 4 should not be that hard of an ask.
no, under four, under four.
But I will feel that if we do end up, if the pass rush looks a lot better than it does last year, it will come down to the speed of the coverage. It's just that they're able to get around the field a lot quicker.
And I've had people tell me, well, they're going to be able to do more cover stuff. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but what about the fact that, you're going to be playing better teams with better quarterback play? You cannot depend on the fact that you're going to be having playing backup quarterbacks for 6, 7 straight weeks.
And I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, we're going to have to really see it this year. I mean, like you said, not only with the updated first place schedule, but again, just in our division. I don't think there's a slouch at quarterback in the division.
No,
I mean, say what you want about Kyler Murray. I still think he's a very good quarterback. He just hasn't been in a good situation in a while.
agreed.
Now you're telling me that you're giving a former number 1 overall pick who has always had flashes of greatness when he had a connection with a player, they played very well together. when he was playing with D Hop.
Hmm.
You mean to tell me you're going to give him one of the top three most talented wide receivers in the league and probably one of the best number two receivers in the league and a dynamic run game and that defense? Minnesota is going to be a problem. Um, the Jared Goff and the Lions. Uh, we haven't beaten the Lions in 2 years, I believe, something close to that.
Yeah.
And again, Green Bay, you know, we can talk all the shit we want about Green Bay, rightfully deserved, but they're still a very good football team who is also getting healthier and could be could be dangerous again.
Yeah.
I mean, we can sit there and shit on Jordan Love all we want. Again, with a lot of it actually kind of rightfully deserved, but he's still a very, very good quarterback. So I will get tests everywhere.
You're right. Right.
It's all about whatever you're trying to implement, will it stick?
Yeah, and you know, and I get it. I shouldn't be that Bears fan, but I don't necessarily want to rely on blitzing and disguising coverages. I'm from the school of I'm going to line up my best four against other teams, five offensive linemen and get to the quarterback instead of doing all of these exotic blitzes.
Because historically that's all it took.
Right.
But we just don't have those guys like we did anymore.
That's why I want those guys. I want waves of angry men going to sack the quarterback.
We don't have 54 on defense anymore. He's now on offense.
I have a problem with that, by the way. Random thought, random rant. The Bears have too many numbers that need to be unretired. They need to just have a ring of honor and have
And call it
certain
a day.
have a ring of honor. And if you want to have certain numbers retired, like I think Peyton's number should be retired. If you want to retire Gale Sayers' number, that's cool. George Halas's number because of what he meant to the franchise and first coach and whatever. I'm okay with that. If you want Brian Piccolo's number, hot take, Brian Piccolo's number should not be retired. I
Probably
understand
not.
I understand who Bill George is because hell, Hanover Park Hurricanes is playing Bill George's league. Whatever. 66 should be unretired. 54 should be a retired number. 55. No.
Okay, thank you.
No. 55, no.
Okay. All right.
If if you are in the Hall of Fame, your number should be retired.
See, but that also makes it hard for the Bears. They have the most Hall of Famers and the most retired numbers in the
Or
NFL.
or you should have it to where you should have the option of unretiring some numbers.
I
Bronco
agree.
Nagurski.
I agree with what you're saying. The only thing I'll say about Logan Thomas is that Brian Urlacher let him take it. He gave him his blessing.
Sure, that's fine. This shouldn't have been an
So,
option.
see, it really just begs the question because like you see that, but then in on a completely different team, you look at the Cowboys. How many great 88s have they had? Three in a row.
Yeah, but that number's like significant, has a great significance in terms of greatness, right? Irving, CeeDee Lamb, and who's the other one that wore 88?
Des Bryant.
Dez Bryant, yeah,
It but again, 88 Michael Irvin. That number theoretically should be retired,
yeah,
but it's not because of the legacy that it has. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first 54 since Brian.
that was good.
I don't remember seeing another 54. I'll just be completely honest.
There was a Ron Cox back in the day for the Bears.
Well, after Brian,
No, before.
well, yeah, I'm saying after Brian. When you think like when his number should have been retired, when did he retire? In 2014? No, 2013. Um, I don't remember seeing a 54 in a Bears jersey since then.
No, no, you're right.
So, hey, this could be a continuation of a legacy of greatness.
He, it better be because second round center. You better have a Olin Cruz type career.
Second round center. And again, I have a lot of high hopes for him because he played at Iowa, Big Ten school. They love to run the football. They're
And
tough,
I
Midwestern.
and Iowa centers are good.
Iowa linemen are just good.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
get linemen and tight ends.
This is true. This is true.
Um,
Um,
I do have one more question for you because this got brought up to me last week, and it has been on my mind ever since. Whatever happened to, and we just said it because uh Cassidy and Dez and all them are wearing 88. What happened to all the receivers with 80 numbers?
they're all winning single digits, or
It
or or
sucks.
or teen numbers.
I hate it. I want to see some 80s numbers again. I mean, when you think of some of the greatest wide receivers of all time, most of them are wearing some variation of 80 something.
Well, I mean, you think about 80, Jerry
Jerry
Rice,
Rice. Think about
81,
81,
Tim
Randy
Brown.
Moss.
I, you know what's funny? When I think of Randy Moss, I think of 84. I don't think of
When he was in
81.
Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't think of 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 81. You know,
Well,
number 80 with Chris Carter, Steve Largent.
like we said, 88 with uh, Michael Irvin, Des Bryant.
Yeah,
Um,
89, Steve Smith.
I want to see 80s numbers back. Uh, what is it? Oh, I think I'm gonna butcher the number, but what is it? 80. Devin Aroma should do. Come on.
Oh, 19.
Oh, he was 19.
Yeah, Devin Aromashadu was 19.
Oh, who the hell was I thinking? Regardless. Um, I just want to see I just want to see more 80s numbers because I think uh
I think
Xavier Thomas is 81.
I think the problem is the fact that, well, you have a lot of these players are, when I go to college, they're wearing the single digit or in the teens for, and then when they get to uh to the pros, that's what they want to wear.
Well, it in my mind, it's like seeing a pass rusher, you know, like Micah Parsons with number one. That bothers me.
I don't think we'll ever see a bear wear number 0, stuff like that. So
Just again, when I see a pass rusher, I want to see 99, 90, 98, you know, Montez.
you don't want to see a 50 Pat Rush, Lawrence Taylor 56.
No, I again, when I see the 50s, I'm thinking a stand-up linebacker.
Well, what do you think Lawrence Taylor was? He was a stand-up linebacker, off the ball linebacker.
He was an off-the-ball linebacker who pass rushed more often than anything.
Yeah,
When I'm thinking 50s, you know, 50 Singletary, 51 Dick Butkus, 54 Brian Urlacher, Middle of the field linebackers drop back into coverage, help on the run, occasionally blitz. That's what I think of when I think of the 50s.
What are your thoughts on the Cubs and Sox?
Um, Honestly, I think they're both playing much better than they have any right to be. Um, the Cubs are in the middle of the Cubs did just drop their last two against Texas, but before that, they went on a 10-game win streak. Their home winning streak is still intact at 16. Um, they had some of the most entertaining baseball because the Reds are a terrible team. Um, winning three straight games against Cincinnati Reds on three straight walk-offs, three different ways was some of the most entertaining thing to ever see. You know, first one, walk-off home run. Second one, walk-off hit. Third one, walk-off walk. Love to see all of that. Um, Again, the one thing that's going to screw them is the bullpen. They just need more consistency on it. I mean,
They need to get healthy.
even when they're healthy, they still don't have a great rotation or bullpen. They're pitching. They just need better pitching. That's the one thing that kind of scares me about, if this team has a chance to make a run, maybe at the deadline, you try to look for some pitching help. But uh, they've been playing incredibly well. Um, the White Sox are 2 games under 500 and second in the AL Central.
AL Central's pretty bad though,
It is the
but
worst
that's
division in
okay.
baseball.
But that's okay considering, my expectations of it. There was one point even last week where the White Sox held a lead in the wild card, and I was like, huh. Of course, I was just kind of like, well, stop the count, stop playing games right now.
And
But
again, we're in May, so
yeah,
there's still a little bit of baseball to go.
yeah, and you hope they keep hitting. There's still guys in that lineup who hasn't started hitting yet, and that there's still certain guys who haven't pitched well yet. You hope will still pitch well. Um,
I
I
think the
am
White Sox have the most entertaining baseball player in the league right
absolutely
now.
that they should go ahead and give a contract extension to. If you would have told me, let's say a couple of years ago, that the first player to probably make $100 million as a White Sox player will be a foreign-born player that's not Dominican or Cuban, I probably wouldn't believe you because Murakami is probably going to get if the White Sox are serious about extending him, you're talking about giving him at least a 5-year deal at $130 million.
And I'd argue if you want to keep him, it's going to have to be more.
No, you're not wrong. I'm just thinking about the
Reality
the,
of
the,
the
the
White
reality
Sox.
of the White Sox.
And
Yeah,
I 100% agree with you. I
yeah.
100% agree with you. But 5-year deal. I mean, I would think enough on a 5-year deal, you're probably going to have to at the bare minimum 150.
So you're talking about 30 million a year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to have to be a lot.
Hi, mom.
Um, it's going to have to be a lot of money. That's just kind of where I'm at,
Yeah,
you know. And again, like I said, the most entertaining player in baseball.
right.
Is he up to 16 home runs now?
I was actually looking at his stats a few seconds ago. 15.
He's still at 15. Okay.
A
I mean,
lot of
15 home runs.
lot of solo home runs though. 15 home runs, 29 RBIs.
I think he still leads the league in home runs. Um, just an absolute steal of a player. Just incredible.
His OPS is 920.
No big deal. That's no big deal.
On base percentage, 364.
That's incredible. Um, I mean, you're looking at the most entertaining offensive player in the MLB. And then on the Cubs side, I think we might have the most entertaining defensive player in the MLB
PCA,
in PCA.
who got off to a slow start, but his power number's gonna eventually get there.
He was never going to be the power hitter. I mean, when you're looking at like home run totals for a year, you're probably looking somewhere between that 20 to 25 home run range. He's
Yeah,
not going to put up massive numbers on it. It's his speed, which is the most entertaining part of his game.
yeah.
Um, there was a stat, I can't remember what it was. I was listening to a podcast last week that they were talking with PCA. It was like estimated runs saved.
Yeah,
The record in a season since they started tracking that stat, I think was like 19 or 18. And for the first month and a half, 2 months of the season, he's already at like eight.
hmm,
He covers so much ground when he's playing center. It's insane.
right.
And again, it's actually a really good time to be a Chicago baseball fan on either side.
Well, I
Granted,
mean,
you want the White Sox to be a little better, but I still think they're performing a lot better than expected.
yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I didn't expect them to win the division. I just wanted them to get better every single day. I think I said if they win 74, 75 games, that would be great, and then you go from there. But, it's fun baseball. You know, um they should have swept the Mariners. That they were winning. Um I think the first game in that series they lost 12-8, because it just you're talking about the Cubs bullpen being bad. The White Sox bullpen is even worse. Starting pitching not, hasn't been that bad, but their bullpen leaves a lot to be desired from time to time.
How did I know that was the phrase that was going to come out of your mouth? I knew it. Um, yeah, but like I said, I think it's fun either way. The Cubs are starting to look like early season contenders, and the White Sox are looking like a competent baseball team. It's very entertaining. It's a good time to be a Chicago sports fan.
Yeah, absolutely. 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 Got anything else?
No, I think we pretty much hit it all there.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Like and subscribe at the bottom. Leave a comment as well. For Austin, this is Paul. See you guys later.
See ya.